Hi guys, this is Spartan765. Today I'm doing a video to answer a question for someone who sent me a message. And that is, they have their Winchester shotgun, and this is the same for all Winchester shotguns, pump action shotguns as far as the models. They have the first model, which is speed pump. They got the 1200, the 1200, the 1300, the 120 Ranger. This works for all those models. And I think it'll even work for the new Winchester shotgun they got out, the new pump action one. I haven't had any time with that one yet. But it won't work for the Model 12 or any model earlier than the 1200. Okay, now the issue with this is that the guy's loading the shells into the mag tube. You know, I have this taken apart for ease of, load them in like that. They're loading in. And then when he pumps the action, the shells aren't coming out of the mag tube at all. Now I'm going to show you guys how to address this problem. Now a lot of people don't realize how a shotgun works and how the shells feed and what causes them to do what they do. Okay, now when you load your shells into the mag tube, they go up in here and they click. And then the shells are held here by something called a cartridge interrupter, which is right here. Or not the cartridge interrupter, but the the cartridge release, which is right here. Now how this works is when your shells are loaded in there just like that. Now I gotta take the shell away here. Now pretend that this is your slide. Now the reason your shells may not be coming out and into the chamber is because you may either have a broken piece or something that's heavily worn. Now this is the cartridge interrupter. This is what prevents double feeding right here. Now, how this works exactly is you put this, you'd have to picture this, the whole gun is put together right here. When this slides back, there's these little tabs here, these little tabs that kind of go angled, one here and one here, on each side of the arm for the forehand. Now, when this is on the shotgun, it slides back here. The first one hits the cartridge interrupter, which is this right here, because keep in mind the rim of the shotgun shell at this time is in front of the cartridge interrupter like this and caught on the shell release or the cartridge release or whatever you want to call it. That's what's preventing it from just randomly sliding back. Now as you slide this back on here, the first notch that hits is right here. That's on the cartridge interrupter. That pushes it in like that. It pushes it in to disengage it, or to engage it, I should say, sorry. And then as you move back even further, the second little indentation, or not indentation, but ramp, hits here on the cartridge release. Now what this does, and keep in mind the cartridge interrupter is engaged. Okay, it's pushed in, preventing any more shells from coming out. And now how this works is this pushes the cartridge release right there, then the cartridge flies out. But what prevents into the feeder? What prevents another? Okay, we're going to pretend there's the forend is still on there. This is pushed out like that, and this is pushed in. The release is out, the interrupter's in. So when another shell slides back that wants to follow this one out, it is stopped by the cartridge interrupter on the rim, which is pushed in. That's what keeps it from double feeding. Okay, and then as you slide the action forward, the action's already back right here, and there's this little, it looks kind of like a hammer. It's what makes the feeder flip up. When this is back, just pushing this back does nothing, just like that. Or otherwise it would have a bunch of mechanical problems. Now when you move the shotgun forward, there's a little thing in the bolt carrier which pushes this, and it flies up as you slide the bolt forward. Then obviously the shell doesn't just fly out randomly. Then it's pushed in to a little bit into the chamber, and as it pushes in, that flies back down, locked in the chamber. And as the forearm also moves forward, the cartridge interrupter, or first the release is disengaged, then the cartridge interrupter. So okay, I'm trying to explain this here in simple terms that a normal person would understand. The cartridge interrupter is released first. which causes the shell to fly back. Or this is released first, and then the, I don't know which one's released first. This one's released first here. Obviously that does nothing, but then the cartridge interrupter is released, and that flies back and hits on the cartridge release, which prevents the shell from just sliding in. And that's how that works. Now we're going to address problems. Now you're going to have to look at a few places for problems. First here is where this little nub here, where the slide. Now first thing actually you're going to want to look at are these little diagonal indentations on your arms. Are they fine? Are they broken off or rounded off, or is this rounded down right here? I mean, that'd have to be excessive wear. I've never seen that before. But or if they're broken off, you know, even if they're broken off, it wouldn't slide because then it would just hang up on it. But the most common thing is either that, well, probably the most common thing is here is that your cartridge interrupter is, or should keep them from, or this here is actually broken, which doesn't make much sense. Or this one here would be broken, completely off. Well, if either one of these are broken completely off, that's not gonna, the gun isn't gonna work. Okay, but what you're going to want to look for is wear on this nub here. Like if this is completely worn off, or this part, you know, I have seen it once where this was actually worn so much that it was actually just snapped off the top part on either one of these. That would cause that problem. You're going to want to look for that. And if it is, I mean, you're going to have to replace a big part of the trigger group. This is just a slide plate here in the trigger group. How to remove this screw, and this will come right off. And what you do then is you just have to order a new plate, and they'll ship it to you and put it on, and then you're good to go. You can't just replace the individual pieces because they're welded on there or riveted on there. I mean, if you guys got any comments or questions, feel free to send me a message. Barton765 out.